In a traditional case, you're looking at about 7 to 9 trays per set to do a manual total knee. With robotics and with the ability to eliminate custom instruments, those trays can be reduced down to 2 or 3. So that alone is a huge relief in terms of creating a logjam when you have a busy surgeon like Dr. Marchand, who's doing anywhere between 5 and 8 cases a day.
Rising above the buzz of ultrasonic cleaners and the clanking of stainless steel are the ideas and voices that are changing an industry. You're listening to the Beyond Clean podcast, the central nexus for the people, processes, and products that are improving our sterile processing world. Each week, we speak with frontline technicians, CEOs, engineers, and entrepreneurs with a common goal to help you fight dirty. Every instrument, every time. Whether you are tuning in for education or inspiration, we're glad you did. Now turn on those washers and turn up the volume. It's time to go beyond clean.
On this vendor spotlight here on Beyond Clean, IST1 Tray has some exciting announcements. And so I'm not going to let the cat out of the bag. Stay tuned. We're going to be back after a short break. One person you know, Barbara Harmer, Vice President of Clinical Services at IST1 Tray. The other one is a surprise guest that we're going to be introducing you all to. So stay with us. We'll be right back.
From the studios at Healthcare HQ, you're listening to Beyond Clean, the global voice of sterile processing.
All right, everybody. Joining me now is Tim Tzimas, the new CEO, and Barbara Harmer, Vice President of Clinical Services at IST1 Tray. Barbara, everybody knows you. You've been on the show. You've been involved with a lot of what we do here at Beyond Clean for many years. But Tim, you're new and you're a big part of why we're here today. We've got a couple of announcements that we're very excited to share with our listening audience. So, Barbara, I'm going to let you go ahead and say hi to the audience that knows you pretty well. And then Tim, we're going to get to know you a little bit today.
Yeah, Justin, thank you. I'm excited to be here today, especially with the new news that we have breaking, and also for a chance for Tim to introduce himself to your audience so that we can get them used to seeing Tim and hearing Tim.
Well, Tim, welcome to the podcast. This will be your first appearance, but I have a feeling it won't be your last. And we're excited to have you, and it means big things for IST1 Tray. So you're the new CEO, and I thought, why don't you just start off by telling us a little bit about yourself, and then we can get into your background and why you find yourself excited about your new role.
Great. Thank you for having me, Justin. This is a very exciting point in my career and life. I wanted to thank Barbara for all her mentorship within the first 30 days of this job. It's been quite an overwhelming task, almost like drinking out of a fire hose, to be honest with you. But the future is very, very bright. A little bit about me. I have a blended family of 6 children and a lovely wife. We have the dichotomy of social and political issues at our dinner table. So it's always interesting conversation when everyone gets together. And I've been in the business for 25 years now. I'm almost embarrassed to use that number out and say that number out loud, but I've had the pleasure of working with a tremendous group of talented human beings throughout my career. I've been able to capture lightning in a bottle a couple of times with certain innovative and startup companies, as well as had some significant exposure with the 800-pound gorillas in the orthopedic and med tech business. So I feel my journey has definitely brought me to this spot, and I cannot be more excited to share in the success of IST.
Tim, before coming to IST1 Tray, what are like some of the positions that you've held? Like, what's your experience kind of in this space?
Well, I graduated college as a physical therapist and practiced for a little bit, and realized that even though I really enjoyed taking care of patients. It just wasn't something for me. I ended up becoming a sales rep in the medical device arena, handling a tremendous amount of startup and innovative companies. So I really had a thirst for innovation from day one. Within a short period of time, I became a distributor principal where I handled companies, and a few may be recognizable to this day. I handled Acumed, I handled Hand Innovations, which was a very innovative company within itself. I had an extensive experience in spine, total joint replacement, trauma, foot and ankle, upper extremity, and some neurosurgical and even some aesthetic lines as a distributor principal, working with the likes of DePuy, Synthes Spine, Zimmer Spine, DePuy joints before they were DePuy J&J, handling a wide variety of specialties within the orthopedic discipline. And then, as fate would have it, I ended up accepting a position with Synthes, which was the number one trauma company in the world at the time, always managing a very robust territory in the New York metropolitan area. That's where my sweet spot has always been my career. Building businesses within companies like Synthes. And then after about an 8-year stint, I moved on over to Stryker, again, being an innovation chaser. Mako Robotics was something I was watching for a very long period of time, built that business up from zero. I've had the pleasure of really mentoring and developing businesses within the city. It allowed me great networking opportunities with a lot of key opinion leaders within the orthopedic discipline, in spine, in trauma, in joint reconstruction. And then I met IST. And sharing that story, I felt very compelled to chase this innovation too. And lucky enough, they allowed me to sign my name on the dotted line.
Well, one of two very big announcements, obviously you as the new CEO, but I'd love to hear the story behind what drew you to the company. Why did you make this decision?
That's a great question and a very profound point in my life. Many of us were exposed to the tragedies of COVID, really earth-shaking moment in all of our history as humans. Many of us really reevaluating our lives and trying to decide what was meaningful and what was not. I was lucky enough to have plenty of downtime throughout the years in COVID, trying to protect my family from the virus, but also thinking about what the future looks like in regards to medtech. And in that downtime, I've had plenty of thoughts and plenty of interactions, and quite frankly, did a significant amount of research and reading about where the market was headed. And the outcome that I came to in a very quick nutshell was that elective cases, specifically as it pertains to joint reconstruction, we're going to be migrating away from the inpatient facilities and moving towards the outpatient facilities, ambulatory centers, and just basically smaller facilities that can handle healthy people who just want to get their joint replaced. That transition or potential transition led me to thinking that the footprint within an ASC was not designed or constructed to really handle high volume, high frequency cases like a total joint. That also led me to start strategizing on how I could be an asset as this patient population was moving from a hospital setting, which is really designed for sick people, in order to accommodate the more active person who just simply wants to get their joint replaced into an ambulatory center. From a clinical point of view, everything was status quo. The major companies really have everything that they need in order to accommodate the patients and the surgeon's needs for a successful surgery. But logistically, the ASCs were not well equipped to handle large bone surgeries like a total knee or a total hip. What that really means from a workflow and efficiency model is we were literally tasked, at least initially, and still to this day, to bring a tremendous amount of instrumentation into a small facility, which had, I would say, a smaller scale of sterilization departments in order to process, sterilize, and prepare the instrumentation for surgery. So by default, I had to think of a way of not only trying to reduce the amount of implants we were bringing into the facility in efforts to properly service the surgeons and the patient on that table, but also try to consolidate the instrumentation. So whatever instruments we did send, we knew was going to get used within that surgery and not create a logjam of logistical instrumentation.
In your prior roles, Tim, I mean, how difficult was it to do that? I can just imagine, it might not be something that a rep is used to doing. And now all of a sudden they're trying to pare down the amount of instrumentation to accommodate, sort of the level of care. How difficult?
Well, I mean, quite difficult. From a operational point of view, we were always pretty much working under the model of a belt and suspenders approach. What I mean by that is, in a traditional manual total joint, we sent everything, we literally loaded up a truck and sent everything possible so the surgeon can make intraoperative decisions about what was best for that patient intraoperatively. But with the advent of technology and robotics, that became more foreseeable, more predictable. We could literally have information about that patient, about in terms of what sizes were required. We would be able, knowing that information, we would be able to really look at the instrumentation and hope and pray to consolidate it in order to streamline the efficiencies of that facility. Easier said than done, because what you have happening simultaneously are both manual cases, which rely on a tremendous amount of instrumentation. All decisions are made intraoperatively. And then you have robotic cases, which we have a lot of information before we even cut skin on that patient. And now we are trying to manage both sides of the spectrum as the evolution, if you will, is occurring from inpatient to outpatient.
So how did you come across IST1 tray in the middle of all of that? I mean, you're facing this challenge and then you're recognizing that there's a shift to doing these cases in the ASCs and just literally space being an issue, and not even just storage space, but how many instruments can actually go through volume wise. And then even what are the corridors, like the layout, the actual physical layout of, moving from one procedure room to another is not the same always as it is in the hospital. So you're seeing all of these changes, but how did you come to find IST1 tray?
Well, I would start out by answering that question by simply saying necessity breeds innovation. And in my travels of educating surgeon customers about newer techniques and the technologies that were made available to them, I met certain surgeons that on their own were making modifications. One specific surgeon in mind, his name is Dr. Bob Marchand. He's a good friend of mine and an innovator himself and a thought leader, very progressive and very ideational as a surgeon on top of his clinical skills. I was there visiting him multiple times throughout the year and looked over at the back table and realized the instrumentation was not the same, or at least not the same instruments that I was accustomed seeing in an operating room for a manual case. His wherewithal, his ability, his vision was to try and consolidate trays. And he's the one who actually exposed me to IST. And at least fundamentally, a project that he was working on to basically take whatever instruments he truly needed for a case, condense them, consolidate them in the inner tray that we now refer to as Easy Tracks. That Easy Tracks tray was a sight for sore eyes, to be honest with you. It was modular. It was customizable. And it really allowed to put the necessary instruments and eliminate the unnecessary instruments for his case. In conjunction to that, the market was demanding that we, as the vendor, we would try to help them become more efficient in the SPD arena. And what I mean by that is it's very costly, very time consuming to wrap individual trays. And in a traditional case, you're looking at about 7 to 9 trays per set to do a manual total knee. With robotics and with the ability to eliminate custom instruments, those trays can be reduced down to 2 or 3. So that alone is a huge relief in terms of creating a logjam when you have a busy surgeon like Dr. Marchand who's doing anywhere between 5 and 8 cases a day.
I think that's great. We actually have seen over the years of Beyond Clean that more and more surgeons are taking an active interest in what is happening in sterile processing, the operations, how to create efficiencies. And we, including myself and the entire many of the team members at Beyond Clean, had a chance to meet Dr. Marchand for one of our Beyond the Tour video series. So you can check that out on YouTube if you haven't seen it yet, and you'll see a familiar face. But I'm not surprised he introduced it to you because he's been doing some pretty amazing things. So you started to see that there was an innovation and opportunity arose, and here you are leading the way. I know we got a bunch of announcements coming out in February, but I just want to congratulate you because I think you have hooked on with a forward-thinking group.
Well, Justin, thank you very much. I could not agree with you more. I'm really, really, truly excited about what lies ahead.
Barbara, how excited? I know we're about 10 minutes into this and we haven't come back over to you, but tell me how excited you are to have Tim on the team.
I'm extremely excited. Tim has been in the trenches. He understands, since I have a surgical background. We speak the same language. We've been exposed to it. We know the pitfalls. We know the challenges. We know when we have a win as opposed to when the dominoes start just falling at the beginning of a day, and how that day can literally materialize into what were we supposed to be doing here today? So it's great to have another person with the extensive experience that Tim has brought to our table.
Well, Tim, it appears that you are joining at an exciting time because, as we said from the top, we have not just one exciting announcement. We have two exciting announcements. Tim, you're one of them, but Barbara, you're joining us today to talk about the second one. And so I'm going to kind of kick it off. You have a second FDA clearance. So congratulations on that. Why don't you just give us an overview and what is the clearance and why?
Sure. So we are extremely excited about this because we feel with the delivery of the FDA's clearance for this second K that we can become, in their viewpoint, a total solution. That total solution being you now have choices and alternatives to use when you look at the product of One Tray, Easy Tracks, and even our case card. It really is an exciting time, and Tim picked a good time. Maybe even a great time, we can say. But this clearance, we were notified on May the 1st of last year that the FDA had cleared a second clearance, as we call it, the new clearance. And we refer to them as the original clearance and the new clearance. And with the new clearance, we now can provide the tray, same filters, same lid, same base. We're not playing checkers, moving pieces around. And so the customer can not have to change very many things except a little bit of their thinking. With this second clearance, the new clearance, you can now, with a minimum of 15 minutes of dry time, end up with 365 days of storage. That's huge for the people that had trouble negotiating the 48-hour routine and wanted more. Well, we're able to provide that now, and that leads the excitement. There's a couple other items that go along with this new clearance, and one is we had done testing during the first clearance of actually getting to a smaller diameter of instrumentation. We can now say we are cleared for 1 millimeter of circumference in instruments. We had tested it. We knew we could do it, but now it's part of the clearance. And we also have extended the length of an instrument from 400 millimeters to 500 millimeters. The key difference, I think, for the user is going to be to understand that this makes the tray quite different from what they've been used to dealing with, where it comes to retained moisture. But the neat feature with this is we were able to discuss internally and come up with a visual identification of how, according to which IFU they wanted to use, they will still use the original green locks on that first K And on the new clearance, they get to use orange locks. And so we will be providing both colored locks so that that alternative choice can be theirs. And they can then adhere to their internal facility policies and procedures.
Yeah, I love that physical indicator to know. I think that's really important. And, congratulations again on the clearance. So 365 days storage with a 15-minute minimum dry time, but also 1 millimeter diameter lumens or cannulas up to 500 millimeters in length included in the actual clearance. Phenomenal. I've noticed over the years, there's just always continuous innovation going on with IST and one tray. And as you mentioned, the total solution with one cart and easy tracks to go along with the one tray. And Tim, that's really what was kind of, bringing your interest to the company, was having that total solution, understanding the ASC environment. But I think, getting more specific on the lumens and their diameter and length, phenomenal to get that in there. So you got the approval in May, but now we're sitting here in February and we've got back-to-back announcements to kind of kick off the month. So Tim, I kind of wanted to go back to you. Who gets the claim to fame? Who are we announcing first in February?
Well, I think my news pales in comparison to that second clearance. That's for sure. No doubt about that. The idea that we are truly now a one tray, one-stop shopping in terms of container for sterilization really is the driving force and the marquee situation for IST. I'm just here to support that as best as I can. And I can't tell you how optimistic I am to be able to bring the one tray to our customers in efforts to help them consolidate their instrumentation, truly enhance their workflow, but also maximize their efficiencies, and doing that without making any changes in their policies and procedures on how they sterilize. We're just here to make our customers, give them an easier option in order to conduct the rigors of day-to-day surgery, for sure.
Excellent. Well, congratulations again to you both. I'm going to kind of go around for some final thoughts before we wrap up. Barbara, you're first. Anything you want to add before we close today?
Exactly, because Tim brought up the ambulatory surgical center market, which I've been very much involved with since the beginning of it in the country. And we've always used the coined phrase of surgical throughput. We actually can prove that surgical throughput can provide an advantage for organizations that turn to use one tray as their sterilization container.
All right. Well, we are going to have a couple of links in the description for this episode so that you can get all the great updates on the website. You can always go to onetray.com. And as a reminder, always follow the one tray instructions for use. And then Tim, before we wrap up, any final thoughts?
Yeah, as always, extremely grateful for the technology and the innovation that IST offers. Exceptionally grateful for the talented people I've been exposed to within the last 30 days. I look forward to working shoulder to shoulder with all these people. Very, very lucky to have this opportunity. And I just have one message to our customers. IST is going through a transition of itself in an ever-evolving market. And our goal is to lessen the burden for unnecessary steps and inefficiencies. And together with our customers, we hope to focus on what matters, and that's taking care of patients and providing operational excellence. So I wanted to thank you, Justin, for the opportunity to talk to you. And I'm really optimistic about 2026.
Well, congratulations again, Tim. The first of what I have no doubt will be many appearances on the podcast. You're with a great company and got a really nice vibe about you today. And so I'm looking forward to hearing more from you in the future. And Barbara, as always, thanks for coming on. And to everybody out there, thanks for listening. All right, everybody. That was Tim Tzimas, the new CEO at IST One Tray, and old friend Barbara Harmer, Vice President of Clinical Services. A couple of really big announcements there, especially the second FDA clearance. And I want to congratulate Tim on his new role. It was great getting to know him today. To learn more and to virtually meet Tim, visit onetray.com/new CEO. And for more information on OneTray's second FDA clearance, visit onetray.com/IFU comparison. So those will be posted in the description for the podcast episode. Thanks again to Tim and Barbara for joining us today. And for all of you out there, thanks for listening to this vendor spotlight on Beyond Clean.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Beyond Clean. As a reminder, you can help support us by subscribing to Beyond Clean on your favorite podcast app or by downloading the smartphone app on iPhone or Android. Simply search for Beyond Clean in the App Store or Google Play. The best thing about downloading the smartphone app is that you can access bonus content for certain episodes and view episodes in certain categories, like articles on the go and vendor spotlights. Are you following us on LinkedIn or Facebook yet? If you are and you love an episode or post, then let your social network know about it. Like, comment, or share our posts along with your thoughts and keep the conversation going. If you have any topics or guests that you would like to recommend for a future episode, just send us an email to info@beyondclean.net. We look forward to hearing from you.